everybody, it's Jago here from the Shot Clock podcast, and welcome to Wellness Week. So we're going to start off this week with sports psychology and our thoughts and processes of our return to sport. Wednesday's episode will be nutrition with Hannah Thornton. Friday's episode will then be with Kev Foley and Pete Madsen, Basketball Ireland's strength and conditioning and heads of athletic development. And then Saturday, we're going to release Neil Murphy, which is Wim Hof breathing. So that's the plan. Hopefully this week helps everybody get back to play in the best possible way, helps coaches and players alike to refocus and get back to playing the sport that we love. So look, without further ado, it's Aoife Callaghan. Hey everybody, it's Jago from the Shot Clock podcast. Welcome to our Return to Sport Wellness Week. Today I'm sitting down with Aoife Callaghan, sports science graduate and sports psychology graduate, Ulster University Tigers player, and hopefully Commonwealth 3v3 player with Northern Ireland. Aoife, how are you keeping?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Look, I start every one of these podcasts the same way, but now we're kind of transitioning. So how was COVID treating you? Now it's like, how's it feel to be back training now that we're kind of on the far side of this?
Oh, it's amazing. We've been back on now. This is our second week back indoor on court training. So it's great to be back, although there's some nerves and sort of fear, a bit of anxiety sort of around everyone coming back, but I think excitement's the main vibe and the main feeling. So yeah, great to be back. Amazing. Brilliant.
Yeah, look, the reason I wanted the sports psychologist on and wanted you on, as I said to you just there, you were on with our Fairhouse club during the summer, and during the year, you made a huge difference to our underage girls because you were relatable and the things you said to them kind of resonated with them. So I wanted somebody, who's in the sport and also has a background in psychology to kind of help our players back onto the court, both old and young, and also coaches, because as a coach, my anxiety levels were through the roof going back because I'm like, right, what have they forgotten? Where are they? What do I need to be doing? What am I looking out for? Who's struggling mentally? So I just, again, like I was talking to Hannah Thornton during the week, this is kind of a bit of a selfish thing. It's kind of to make me a better coach and hopefully help other people as well. But look, we'll start at the start. Quick question about you. Who, what, or why inspired you to play basketball for the first time?
Well, my parents actually, probably my mum played basketball when she was younger. So she went to the States and stuff to play. So I was sort of born into the sport, although I was a real girly girl whenever I was younger. So I actually did Irish dancing. And she used to sort of, when she was coaching, she used to drag me and my sister along to basketball. And then one day we just eventually picked up a basketball and then just went from there. And she ended up starting her own basketball club, her along with my dad. So that's where I joined my first team, and I'm still playing with them. It's Tigers, so I'm still playing with them now.
Amazing. Great having a family connection. Both my parents played, and like that, my brother and sister both played. Your sister was Young Referee of the Year a couple of years back, wasn't she?
Yeah, she won I think it was like the National League Referee of the Year last year, and then she won the Young Referee of the Year a few years ago. So yeah, she's everyone's heavily involved in sport. She's great from that point of view as well, and she played when she was younger too.
Excellent, amazing, absolutely amazing. Look, we'll start with our questions. So regarding our return to play, the question that I got in most from people was, how do you get over your fear of that returning to play? Because it has been 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is that there's a really negative sort of connotation around the word fear. Everyone assumes it's the worst thing in the world. And I think that the main thing I would say is just to tackle it head on and understand that fear is a normal emotion to feel. It's not a bad emotion to feel. It's a normal thing. So just sort of face it. But the issue comes whenever that fear and those emotions sort of consume you and inhibit your ability to play or perform in whatever field it is that you're doing. So if you are getting to that stage, there's obviously tips and things that you can do to sort of help it out. The first thing is obviously to see it as a normal emotion. Fear doesn't automatically equal I can't perform well or I can't do well. So I'd say don't tell yourself that you can't be afraid. And that fear is not part of who you are, because it can be. I think take pressure off yourself whenever you're returning to sport or returning to whatever it is. Like you said, it's been 18 months since anyone has been on a basketball court. So don't have expectations to go back in and be the best that you've ever been, because it's highly unlikely that it's going to happen. I would say when you first go back, just focus on enjoying it, getting a ball in your hand, getting shots up, seeing people you haven't seen in a long time. Just focus on the enjoyment, and the rest of it will come. Set really small goals to start off with, really small achievable things, and build it up from there. Don't go in and set the most extravagant goal that you can think of. And I think if you're feeling really anxious and really fearful, just have a chat with your teammates and the people around you, because chances are they're feeling the same way or feeling somewhat similar. So having that sort of similarity with another teammate can really benefit you, and just even to know that someone else feels the same way as you can benefit you in moving forward and getting past those emotions. So there are things that I would sort of suggest people do.
Yeah, very good advice. It is. Look, we're all in the same boat. You know what I mean? Whether you're playing for the first time or you're returning to the sport after, a 20 or 25-year career, whatever it is, we all feel like newbies again. It's that crossing the line again for the first time and getting involved. It's worrying.
Mm-hmm.
And from a coaching point of view, it is as well, because you're trying to figure out what's best for your team, what's best for your players, and how to help them through this.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question I got in was, I last played like everyone else 18 months ago, but now I've moved up 2 age groups and have a new coach. I'm finding it hard to adjust. Have you any advice?
Yeah, I would say the first thing would be to have a think about why you think that transition struggle is sort of happening. Is it because of COVID, or is there issues with teammates, or you don't like the coach, or where it's sort of coming from? If you find the source, obviously you're able to tackle it a bit more head on, that sort of way. But I think try and develop open lines of communication with your teammates, with your coaches, figure out who's in the same boat, or because like I said, there might be other people in your team that are feeling the same way. If you're moving up with other people that you played with the previous 18 months ago or 2 years ago, they could be feeling the same way. So again, having that everyone in the same boat situation makes it a bit easier. I would say be patient, keep working hard, and the results, you'll sow what you reap. If it doesn't solve itself, then after that, I would speak to the coach, or I would, take it that wee bit further. But I would say in the initial stages, just be patient, work hard, and trust that, those results will pay off.
Yeah, definitely. So your background is in sports psychology. What made you pick sports psychology as your major?
So random, but obviously when I was doing sports science, you sort of touch on psychology in all of the lectures, and I just knew at the end of my undergrad that I didn't want to leave Jordanstown. I wanted to keep playing basketball, and I wanted to stay there. So I thought I had to pick a master's. And sports psychology was obviously the one that stuck out to me most, and so interested in reading books and podcasts and all this other stuff. So I thought, just go for it. And I did, and I absolutely fell in love with it when I did my master's. It didn't feel like work at all. It didn't feel difficult at all. I just loved it.
What's that they say? If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So look, with your background in sports psychology, do you have any superstitions or game day routines?
I wouldn't say superstitions. I try and get myself in the same mindset for every game. And normally it starts with the same sort of game day routine. I like to get up. If it's on a typical home game for us, it's on a Saturday evening. So I like to get up and go and coach our sort of local young kids in the morning, just have a really chill out morning, really get myself focused. For me, I need to relax myself because I'm a very play better when I'm calm sort of person. So if I let the hype get in my head, it tends to get the better of me. So I go and coach them, be around the kids, have that sort of fun environment. Then just come home. I like to just chill out for an hour or so before I head to the court, listen to some music. And then when I get there, just really take my time, get shots up, go through a shooting routine before we get into our team warm up. But no real major superstitions.
And do you think that's because of your background, or is it just you? Because I have ridiculous superstitions, and listening and talking to other people on the podcast, it's just funny what people do. You know what I mean? Like first, lace up your boots a certain way. And
I think when I was younger, we actually, whenever my school team won, we won the All Ireland Championships for school, and I wore those like undershorts, boots, socks. Like I would not wear them, not wear them for any games, because I was like, no, we won in this. Like I have to wear this now forever. But I sort of grew out of that, and I think it was the first time I played bad or we lost or something. I was like, right, that's gone. That's out the window. The socks don't work anymore. So, it's easy for superstitions to sort of attach on when you're playing well and when things are going well, but then when it goes wrong, then you're like, okay, I quit.
Try something new.
Yeah, exactly.
How would you, what in your opinion, what is the best way to prepare for a game, or is it different from person to person? You know what I mean? Like, I have certain players like yourself who prefer to be calm going in, and then I've a mix who want to be, hyped going in. Do you just do whatever's best for you?
Yeah, it's absolutely an individual thing. It's about finding your zone. So everyone will have a different zone where they function or they perform optimally. For me, I'm a very competitive and emotional person, and sometimes that gets the better of me and it takes over from decision making and things like that in the game. So I tend to do better when I relax and let my shoulders go and just try and enjoy it. I know people that are the complete opposite, or just quite laissez-faire, and they need a bit of a kick up the bum, a bit of a hype up and a bit of a shake to play well. But I think figure out where your zone is. And this might take a wee bit of time and a bit of figuring stuff out. But it's just pay attention to when you play well, how was I feeling? What emotional state was I in? If it's relaxed and calm, like me, things like imagery, meditation, deep breathing, things that will really calm you down. And if it's the other way around, what ways to hype you up. You give yourself a shake, you jump around, you get moving, listen to some music. There's different techniques that you can use, but the main thing is to figure out where you perform at your best.
And it's going to take time, obviously, because we've been off the court for so long. So don't rush yourself back.
Exactly, yeah.
A player that I've coached, or I'm coaching at the minute, Jess Collins, is coming back after 8 years away from the sport. She tore her calf muscle in her second training session back, and now has that fear of re-injury. So and I know it's a lot of players' fear, coming back now, but how do you get over that fear of re-injuring yourself?
Yeah, well, I can obviously speak from a psychology point of view, and this on a personal point of view. I tore my ACL in the past, and I racked my ankle actually just before lockdown. I tore my ligaments in my ankle, and then the next week we were in lockdown. So I seen a physio just to get a diagnosis. So for my personal sort of opinion, it would be just to take the pressure away from yourself. I sort of struggled. I tore my ACL back when I was like 17, and I struggled with, I had it in my head, I have to come back the same way I was before, or else this is all for nothing. I'm working so hard for nothing if I'm not as good as I was before. And then it was, when you came back, it was just sort of like all that pressure was for nothing, because you're doing what you love, you're back on court and you're playing basketball. So embrace that and just completely take the pressure off yourself. Again, it's quite similar to the first question, where that fear and that unknown and that anxiety, like, it's a completely normal feeling. So don't feel you can't feel that way. Be anxious and be fearful and come back on court, and you might be a bit timid, or you might not be able to get through a whole session, but that is completely fine. So don't beat yourself up. And I would say, instead of focusing on the injury and, oh, this is sore and what if I fall this way, reframe your thoughts. This is just basically so that your negative thoughts won't sabotage your performance. If I'm constantly thinking, what if I hurt myself, or what if this doesn't hold up, chances are it won't hold up. And instead, I would focus on the things that you can do, the things that you do well. So every small thing you do well, capitalize on it, and think about the things you're good at. Think about what you're capable of doing in that moment. Again, give yourself time, be patient, and just, have a bit of gratitude for yourself. You've worked this hard. Now you're in a position to be back on court. So just embrace it and enjoy it.
Does it come down to that wonderful phrase, control the controllables?
Exactly. And, like we were talking about there, injuries are part of the sport. Anyone who steps on a basketball court or steps on a football pitch or a JA pitch, you understand that there's a risk there with hurting yourself. It's a bit like anything. Injuries can happen at any time. That doesn't mean you go out and you play scared. You could fall down your stairs, when you're walking out of your house, and really hurt yourself. And it's just enjoy it, and you take whatever you get from it. And I think anyone who's been seriously injured before would probably say the same thing that I would say, in that you learn so much about yourself in that period of time. And if you don't come back a physically stronger player, you will definitely come back a mentally stronger player, so much more resilient and so much more mentally tough.
Brilliant. Great advice. What advice would you give a coach to help re-motivate their team after all this time off the field?
This is a bit of a difficult one for me, because my personal opinion is that motivation should come from the players. I don't think it's a coach's job to motivate people to show up. Although obviously there are things a coach can do to help. I think the most important thing is your communication style and the way you speak to the players. Where basketball is a very small sport in that you're only going to have 10, 12, 15 people, it's easy as a coach to walk around and have individual conversations with everyone. From that, you'll figure out what people want to achieve, how they want to do that, what they're there for. Some people are just there recreationally, and that's not, a bad thing. Some people might be there to win a trophy, and again, that's not a bad thing. But you have to understand what motivates everyone, what makes everyone tick. And I think that's a really hard part about coaching a team sport, in that you could have 12 completely different individuals, different motivation levels, different things that make them tick, and you have to figure out how to get those all to work together. But I think bring it back to, you've a team of individuals, not an individual team. And if you find out how to speak to every single one of them, then you'll know who to push or who to speak to in what way, and it all just sort of will gel together. I think as coaches, you can continuously educate yourself. So learn about motivation, the different sources of motivation, intrinsic, extrinsic, how to set up those sort of culture and commitment levels within the team. So read up, there's really good podcasts and there's books, and I just think keep educating, and you'll learn how to create that culture of motivation, where motivation is the only option. We're a motivated sport, or we're a motivated team, and that's just the way we deal with things. And then I think the last thing, what I'll say to any coach when they're trying to do something within a team, is just to lead by example. If you show up and you're motivated, and you show that to your team, the chances are they're going to sort of mirror that and show you the same back.
Brilliant. Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that one. I struggle at the minute, and to be honest with you, I've struggled for a while with this. I keep saying every podcast I kind of say to people, do you think like this generation don't try as hard, or they don't? Because I think about when I was 16, 15, 16, and the effort and the work I put in to be the best that I could be. And I don't see that in this kind of generation. And it kind of demotivates me at times, because I'm like, you're late for training. You're worried about this, you're worried about that. And it brings me down. So I think, it's a very good thing that if I'm motivated, they'll be motivated, and hopefully, they'll mirror my energy. So that's
I think as a coach, you again, it comes back to control the controllables. Like, you can't go and buy a little water bottle filled with motivation and make everyone drink from it. It's not like Michael Jordan's Space Jam. It's not as easy as that. You can do what you can do, and you just have to accept that.
Yeah, definitely. So, quick question: what advice would you give to a 16-year-old Aoife if she was sitting in front of you right now?
I would say don't go as hard on yourself. I would also say it's not all about winning and losing. I used to tie my complete happiness and my complete idea of success to if I won or if I didn't. And you can lose, and you can fail, and you can make mistakes and still be successful. I would say enjoy it, embrace those moments, because they come and go in the flash of a light, and before you know it, your basketball career is going to be over. So enjoy it, spend time with your friends, the long bus rides, all those conversations that you have with coaches and stuff. They're the things that you're going to remember. Obviously the big wins and stuff as well, but those things definitely stick out as well.
It's interesting that you tied success to winning when you were younger, and then while researching all of this, I saw on your AC performance page that your very first slide is success doesn't necessarily equal winning. And I think it's a really good thing. Does that come down to a standard that you set for yourself, where you say to yourself, you know what I mean, right, this is what I deem as success? And as a coach, and from coaching like a team in the new generation of sport, do you set those standards for your team where you say, you know what, success for us this year is, and you put it as a predefined thing, and that's what you work towards for the season?
I think, well, for me, I would like it if a coach is setting, this is the standard and this is what we're going to live to and this is what success is to us, I think the player should be involved in that conversation as well. So it should be this is what our idea of success is, and everyone's involved in it and everyone's on board. And if we don't achieve that success, there may be some accountability, there may be some repercussions depending on our effort levels or our motivation levels, or if we tried, or, if it just wasn't your day, those things happen. But I think I just learned the hard way, where I would come home from a loss and I would cry, and I would lose sleep over it and wake up in the middle of the night just thinking like, oh, I should have done that, during the game. And it was like the next day, it was a major kick in the teeth back towards myself, because I was like, why are you doing that to yourself? It's just a basketball game. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, waking up sleepless nights after game losses and thinking of things you could have done differently. But in that game, you might have done X, Y, and Z really, really well. So there's small successes can happen within, a larger scale loss, so to speak. But yeah, bringing back to the coach thing, there should definitely be a level of success that is set out before you go into the wins and losses, because people will automatically assume if we win, we've been successful, and if we lose, we've been unsuccessful. So you have to sort of break that down a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Paul Kelleher sent me a message, and I'm after kind of throwing this at you last minute just before we came on. He was listening to a podcast, I think it was Basketball Immersion, where a coach said that setting goals results in teams kind of when they get to the goal, they've reached the pinnacle, and that's fine. And he has now started to set standards for his team. So goals versus standards from a sports psychology point of view, do you feel that if you say, right, our goal this year is to reach the semi-final, do you think that people's effort will drop off once you hit the semi-final because you've reached your goal? Whereas if you set standards like we just spoke about, you're continuing to strive for those standards and they'll never drop because that's your non-negotiable standard of play.
My thought process on it is, when you set a goal, it can be moved and it can be changed and it can be amended. For me, when you set a standard, that's very much more rock formation, and this is our standard and that's it, and it's immovable. Whereas goals need to be shifted. You said about reaching a semi-final. Say you get knocked out in the quarterfinal and it's halfway through the season. Just say, for example, National Cup. Our team, actually, we did this, I think it was the last season we played. No, season before, the last season we played. Our goal was to win National Cup, and we lost in the final. And obviously that's in January. After that, I don't think we won a game in the rest of the regular season after going the whole season, not losing a game. I think we lost one game. We lost every single game after it. And it was because we tied everything to that one goal. So you have to be able to move those goals and change those goals depending. I think your standards are very important, but I think they sort of come before your goals. So you set your standards in order to achieve your goals, and you set those goals based on your standards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And just back to standard setting, something you said really stuck out to me. Your players should be involved in setting those standards.
Mm-hmm.
I sent a questionnaire, the last season we were due to play, I sent a questionnaire out to my senior team, basically asking them what they felt were non-negotiables for the season. And I'm thinking of doing that again this year with my under-16 team. Do you feel like, from a psychology point of view and a sports science point of view, do you think people are more inclined to buy in to the culture if they have a part to play in setting that culture?
Absolutely. I think if players have that say in, oh, these are our non-negotiables, and you could take it a step further and create sort of what I would sort of like to do with my teams in the first session is create a charter. And on that charter, the non-negotiables are values and our goals. And every team member signs the charter, and it's written down, it's laminated, stuck up in the locker room or whatever it may be. But if they have a say in that contract, it increases that level of buy-in. It increases that level of cohesion, because they think, you know what, I've said this is my non-negotiable, so it means I have to live up to it, and I have to motivate myself and be disciplined to achieve that because I had a say in it. Whereas if a coach turned around to me and said, here's our 5 non-negotiables, these are our standards, I'm going to say, well, I didn't agree with that, or I don't necessarily agree with that, or I think this would be better. And it may be better, and you may get ideas that you never thought of, or, that's, so I think that collaborative essence of a team is what automatically brings that cohesion together, and it's obviously so important for a team. I think it'll bring people closer to the coach as well, knowing that they're listening to their ideas and they're taking it on board as a non-negotiable. So it's just a way to bring everyone closer together, from coach right down the whole roster.
Excellent. I completely agree with you. I just wanted to hear, like, you know, a psychologist's opinion on it. It's something I've been watching a lot of Alan Keane, the GB Commonwealth coach, and Leicester Riders, I think he's with. A lot of his podcasts and listening to him on podcasts, and he seems to buy into that whole non-negotiables and the team setting the standards, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Aoife, look, thanks for your time. We've kind of reached the end, but look, before we go plug your company, plug what you do. Let everybody know, you know, that you're available to them. So the next couple of minutes are for you to have a quick chat and let us know what you can do to help people psychology-wise.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, obviously being a basketball athlete myself, there's not really anything in the basketball world that I haven't experienced. So particularly for basketball athletes, team athletes involved in team sport is where I'll sort of my bread and butter. Have an Instagram page. It's AC Performance Psychology. If you want to follow along, you can message me on that, on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever, really. But even just something as small as doing a workshop or coming on, you know, like I did with your guards, and introducing people to sports psychology. People might not know what it is or what it entails, or what sort of the next steps are. So can absolutely help with that, no matter what. Even if it's a basketball related question, my DMs and stuff are always open. So
lovely. Aoife, thanks a million for giving up your time. Look forward to getting the feedback on this, and I'll forward it all on to you. You and go and enjoy the sunshine.
I'll try.
Enjoy indoor sport, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great, thank you.
So there we have it, episode 1, and hopefully that's helpful to everybody out there. As usual, head over to our social media pages, you know, just like, subscribe, follow, all of those things. Spread the word along, you know what I mean? Not everybody's listening to the podcast because not everybody's interested in what was going on before. But this is something different. This is to help our community get back to the sport we love. So spread the episodes around, share on all social media channels. And until Wednesday, this is Jago saying, I'll see you on the court.